I don't have anything to hide, really. So.
I'm far from good. So.
I have.
Welcome to the premiere of Timeout with Coach, featuring John Crooks and Herb King.
And welcome to Timeout with Coach here, and John Crooks alongside me will bring you all the action. I'm Herb King, and our guest tonight, Zack Keys. And man, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, this
just
is
getting a chance to talk to
It's
you.
already been fun.
We better be taping this while we're off.
Hey, we're going to have a great time talking about Zack, some of the things that have gone on maybe in his life, in his coaching career, what he's done here at Northview High School, all the things that are going on, and you'll get the inside information on a lot of different things you probably didn't know about, and you'll probably go, wow, I can't believe these guys are actually talking about this stuff. But great to have you, Zack. You had an outstanding season. Let's start out with just a little bit of fun. Give us a little bit of background and finish up a little bit, if you can, with the girls' basketball season this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so just background on me. I graduated at Northview in 2004. Started coaching with Coach Lancaster right after that. Took a 2-year break, and Coach Buell called me and asked me if I wanted to help out with girls' basketball when I was living in Canby. And I agreed to it and drove back and forth for that year and helped him for a few years, and then eventually took over. This year, we had a really good team, obviously. We had a great season. Start of our schedule, we really made it very difficult in hopes that it would get us ready for February. We went to Bloomington South. We went to Bloomington North. We played in a tournament down towards Louisville and played, top teams in the state like Washington and Borden. And then we came home and played Avon. Just played some really tough teams early in the schedule. And honestly, man, I think our kids, we knew our kids felt like we were going to have a good year. And we started off slow, obviously, because we're playing some really good teams. I think we were like 4-6 there out of the gate. And we were struggling inside that locker room, to be honest with you. We lost to Sullivan on a Friday to make us 4-6, and that next day we had a team meeting, kind of like come to Jesus meeting.
You have those every now and then as a coach, don't you?
They came, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. So we sat and talked. We watched film. Really talked about the season and made sure that the kids understood that, look, we've played some really good teams. That's why we're 4-6. After that moment, we rattled off 16 straight games, won the WIC, won a sectional, and just fell short on Saturday against a really good Indianapolis Cathedral team.
Well, and when I ask you that now, we've got the summation of what's taken place while you're here, right? And you got to figure out when good things happen to you. Everybody wants to know kind of how and why and all those things. But now we get to go back because John Crooks was one of your coaches. Yeah. And you guys told some tremendous stories before. We won't even put all those on the air here. But
talk about him here.
But I'll let John ask him a couple on what's going on here.
I just wanted to tell everybody that before Zack started coaching, he had a full head of hair.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I should have told him when he got into it, especially girls.
Right.
I coach girls for a little while. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. But, Zack played for me his freshman and sophomore year, and we had a really good squad. His sophomore year, Logan Whitman was a sophomore, and then we had 4 or 5, 6 really good seniors. Yeah. And made a good run. We ran into a buzzsaw at Martinsville, and that was when we had to play in the 4A, and that was tough.
Different level of competition.
But still, you still got to win. Right. No matter what class you're in, you still got to win. But Zack was a great player. We got some stories to tell, but tell us just a little bit about the sectional game. I wasn't able to get over there and watch it. I know there was a buzzsaw there in regional, with Cathedral.
Yeah. So obviously we planned all week. We knew that it was going to be a grind on Saturday. We felt like we had a good plan going in defensively, and our kids we guarded very well. Unfortunately, our point guard was sick, which played a little bit of a factor. We just couldn't score. Cathedral is super physical, very athletic group. They've been 4A forever.
And
they dropped the 3A this year. Yeah. So they're a 4A school with 4A kids, and it showed on Saturday. But our kids fought, I think it got down 9-0 at the end of one, 18-7 at half. But then in the third quarter, we went on a little run, cut it to 6, and it felt really good in that moment. Schrader had an and one, missed the free throw, and then they just immediately went on a little 6-0 run right after that. Right after it felt like we had some momentum, and it just kind of, we dug it too deep of a hole to crawl out of.
Now they pressured you all, didn't they?
Yeah, they pressed the whole game. That's kind of what they do. Played a diamond press, played some man. But just reeling an athlete after athlete, bringing them off the bench, and it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep up.
We've all been in those situations. It doesn't matter what sport you're in when you're overmatched. And we even broadcast the game the other night. You're overmatched. You can still play really well, not win the game, and your kids have done really well. And I think that's kind of what you're saying in this one, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it was just our kids fought. Man, that's the biggest thing. That's what, as a coach, I think, Coach knows. He did it for a long time. The biggest thing is you ask for your kids to fight for 32 minutes. And I'll say that about this group. Every single night they played for 32 minutes. Sometimes you have teams where you're like, 3 minutes in, you're calling timeouts. Guys, we got to play harder.
All your timeouts in the first quarter. Yeah.
But this group's they're just not like that. They're not geared that way. They play hard every single night. As deep as we go, every single kid that goes into the game plays hard. And that's, a testament of maybe good coaching, I guess, but also just really good parents that have raised some kids that get after it, is what I would say.
Well, when you're looking at that, you said, they probably learned that through the program that's going on. So kind of give props to a couple of your coaches that you have in the program.
We are blessed, man. I say it all the time. I say God's blessed me so much with, for one, tremendous basketball players. And then also just, great leaders of kids with my coaching staff and, my assistant coaches, and trickles down, all the way to just some of the dads that help us in the lower levels. Just you have to have a community of support to have a good basketball team. And you have to have a group of people that are passionate about it and want to put the time in, and we have that. And it starts with me. My wife teases me all the time that I'm never at home.
That's it.
She's at home right now, and I'm here. But no, she.
We love you.
But no, it's important to have not only good assistants, and I said this the other day to my coaches, is just have good coaches' wives. And Coach knows they take a brunt of, you're not home. No. For 4 months. Our season started in October. It got over Saturday. And that entire stretch, you're scouting, you're watching film when you're at home, you're thinking about the game when you're at home. Mm-hmm. There's never a moment when you're a coach, if you take it seriously, there's really never a moment where your mind is at rest and you're not thinking about how can we get better.
100%. Then, the players get their behinds chewed out in the locker room right after, a loss, but then the wives get it when you get home. Right. They get it the next morning, or either that or you're not talking to them at all. And no, there's no doubt that we had some good wives. Gina was my wife. Yep. She was just unbelievable as a coach's wife. She knew it from the beginning, and she never questioned the fact that that's what we wanted to do, and I'm sure your wife is the same way.
Yeah, there's obviously days where you're like, sorry babe, I gotta go scout. I'm like, do you really need to go scout? Can't you watch them on film? That's different, babe. I need to go, but no, having that understanding and having multiple, we have, I got 4 other guys on my coaching staff.
Who are they?
Jordan Allen. Yeah. Jordan Allen, Matt Stuckey, Troy Batchelor, and Seth Payton. So all guys that graduated from Northview, and all except for Troy played in the program at some point. But just phenomenal guys that put the work in, do extra. Coach Batchelor's coaching our 7th grade team as well. Yeah. So he was coaching JV and we talked about this earlier. Mixed overlapping and coaching 7th grade. Yeah. And Coach Allen's coaching the 8th grade this weekend. And so, but that's part of that buy-in that you have to have a successful program. You have to have guys or girls that are willing to commit. Not only to the varsity basketball season, but to your program as a whole.
100%.
Elementary, middle school, all those things. I just came from a middle school game, just stopped in for a brief minute just to check in with Coach there. Coach Miller helps us there. But you just got to be around. Kids need to see your face as a coach if you want to have a good program.
Coach Allen's been in here a couple times. He might have ate a wing or two.
Yeah, drank some water.
He drank some water and had a few wings.
Yeah, no, Coach Allen is my right-hand man, dude. He is he was actually coaching at Monrovia, coached football at Monrovia when they won a state championship. And just got back to Brazil, and we were able to get him a job. He was able to get a job here at North Clay, and then immediately I was like, man, you want to help coach? And he was like, yeah. And then Seth Payton, another Northview guy that his sister was one of our best players. Stacy Payton went and played Division I softball. And so just good guys, man. A lot of good guys.
Didn't she?
Yeah. 3 years for Scott, and then her senior year is when I took over. So yeah, just great leaders, great guys to just be around and hang out with. So a good camaraderie there within our staff, I think also helps our program.
Sure.
Now, another thing that I noticed resume-wise when I look at different things, I know, doesn't it sound weird? Like I actually.
Carbon Heating and Air Conditioning has been serving the Wabash Valley for.
Your degree is in special ed, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And so when you look at your degree and your coaching style and your teaching style, how do those all line up for you and how you treat kids and what you want to do and how you want to accomplish things in that personal relationship?
Yeah, I actually, one of the reasons why I got into special education was because of a young man named Foster Buell. Some of you guys probably know him, but Soph and Sydney both played in the basketball program, so Foster was always around. And just seeing him and interacting with him and really drove me to that profession. And I love what I do. I love working at North Clay. We have a great leader there in Bethany Jones. And it's just, it's a great atmosphere for teaching. And I tell people all the time that I coach basketball and I also teach, but in reality, I am a teacher too. But I do. That's kind of a laughing thing there at the school is that I'm a coach, but that I also teach. But no, I love my job and passionate about it as well. But yeah, just working with kids, I think it obviously it helps working with kids throughout the day too. And then I coach, and that's why me and my wife do not have kids because I'm around them all the time.
No, you're a teacher. You just have no way to name them because you keep thinking like, what can we name our kids? Right. That doesn't happen very well.
That's true.
So you have to figure out.
We're not going to get into that.
but no, I mean, you look at the things that you go through in special ed, and I know because my daughter's a special ed teacher. Right. My wife did that for a while, so I'm right along with you in understanding that. But those relationships you build with those kids allow them to function in a classroom. That relationship you build with players allows you to function on the court.
Yeah, I mean, if you want kids to play hard and get after it, you have to build a relationship with them. Just like, if you want kids to do well in the classroom, you have to build a relationship with them. Relationship is 99.9% of teaching and 99.9% of coaching. It's really the only thing that matters ultimately. I talk to our kids about that all the time. This is going to go away. You're not going to play basketball forever, but I still have a group message with my 7 seniors from my senior year, and we still talk once a week. Those relationships that you have, those guys some of them came to the sectional game even, drove from Indy to watch us play in the sectional on 2 Saturdays ago. So that part of it, that relationship part, it never goes away. Sure. The basketball will. So we encourage our kids to build those relationships with each other, with the staff as well, but most importantly with each other, because those, that's what you're going to take with you long after high school. Is that relationship you create with the person next to you. And look at this. I mean, this guy coached me, and here we are, and 5 years later.
That's what we're talking about here. Those relationships really matter. And speaking of relationships, we have those with some of our sponsors. So we're going to pause here for just a moment. Again,
I have a question about girls basketball.
Zack, John Crooks, I'm Herb King. We'll be back in just a moment.
Carbon Heating and Air Conditioning has been serving the Wabash Valley for over 30 years, and we are a leading Green Pro partner. Cold weather is here. Be sure to have your heating system serviced. We also have rebates available up to $625 on qualifying equipment. You can also get 24 months no interest financing for qualified customers. So if you need a service call or are looking to upgrade your current system, give us a call at 812-448-8387. Carbon Heating and Air Conditioning, where comfort and quality meet.
I got my basement.
And welcome back. Again, John, we're here at your place. Can you give us a little bit of what your place is about here with Coach's Timeout?
I can do that. I appreciate Tony wanting to put on a podcast here with us. This is Coach's Timeout in beautiful downtown Brazil, Indiana. The history behind it, the history behind the building and the bar is unbelievable. It goes 100. This building's 100 years old. The bar's 100 years old. It's just a great place. But when I got out of coaching, I did a few stints of different things. I did a little show with WTHI in the paint, and then I did some other things, and then I always told my wife I'd like to own a little sports bar someday, and this one came available, and a buddy of mine and I bought it originally, and then he decided he didn't want to be in it, and he got out, and I've had it for almost 16 years now.
Wow.
We've been here, and it's been a great place. It's family friendly, and it's a great place. You know, Zack comes in. You know, a lot of my ex-players come in, have dinner, and you know, just sit around and talk about old times, and we lie to each other about things, you know. And it's almost like a Cheers place, you know, the old Cheers. People come in and just hang out. We have some regulars, so it's a fun place to be. So if anybody ever wants to come in and bring your kids and watch a game, got the March Madness coming up, baby.
Right. And Coach is very good about spur of the moment. I texted him last Saturday morning, or I think I might have texted you Friday night. I said, hey, we might win the sectional on Saturday. Can we take over Coaches, bring our parents and players, and you can feed us and everything? And he was like, sure, absolutely. Little did I know that night he had an event down the road of like 500, but he didn't turn us down.
Story on that, because I came back from that event and I was coming around the corner, and there was not a car anywhere around here. And I was like, man, they must have got out of here fast, you know? And I was like, so I opened the door and walked in thinking I was going to walk into nothing. And this place was packed wall to wall all the way up to the cheap seats. They came down on a Greyhound bus.
Well, those are the things you're going to remember for a long time. Just in a season like you just had, you'll remember those kinds of things that happened. The caravans or the other stuff going on. I still remember those from teams that I had where we're looking at. One of them was like 9 miles long. The procession was that, and you look at those and you think back when you get a little bit older, and those kids will remember those as much or more than you will.
Absolutely, and more than a game, you know. Even for me, I could talk about relationships. Coach and I, you know, we've stayed close, you know, through all these years. You know, we've went stretches where we don't talk, but you're always close, you know. But to be able to win a sectional and then come here and celebrate with Coach, that's pretty special.
Yeah,
so.
That was special. That picture we got taken together got like 1 million hits.
There you go. That's you.
I did. You were looking a little rough.
Oh, that sounds really good. Let's look back just a little bit and tell me in high school what some of the goals you had and how those change over time, because that's a big deal for a lot of our young people when they think about, hey, I've got this goal. This is what I want to do. Were your goals to be in a situation where you are right now, or what do you think?
I don't know that I ever thought I'd be coaching girls basketball. I don't. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world now. But no, as a high school kid, I was not a very good student. I remember having countless talks with, you know, Coach Leonard about how I needed to get my grades up as a freshman with a 1.9 GPA. But no, and then as I went through high school and I started coaching bus rides with Tony Trout and Mitch Lancaster and some of these guys, Scott Buell, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. But then I had to listen to them for an hour on a bus ride or on a scouting trip talk about teaching. So it kind of talked me out of it.
Coach Crooks.
Right. But no, and then my dad actually ran a construction business, and I got into construction for 10 years. He did commercial concrete, and I helped him run that for several years. And then once my wife got her master's degree, I decided to go back to school. But yeah, I think when you're a high school kid, I think there are some kids that are ready for college and some kids that are not ready for college. And it's okay to not be ready for college.
Yeah.
I was not ready for college. I went right after high school, and I didn't make it. I went to Ivy Tech.
Okay.
There was a part of me that wanted to go play basketball, but I actually got a little bit of a heart condition that I found out about my senior year, and my heart would like race out of control during games, so I didn't. Decided not to go play, and Mitch immediately asked me to coach, and I fell in love with coaching like right away as a 19-year-old kid. But no, I think having an understanding of what you want to do is important, but it's going to change. Like your thought processes on what you want to do when you're 18 and 19, let's be honest. Most kids don't know. I know I didn't really know until I was probably 26 or 27. I had to go, work construction and be outside and understand, you don't want to do this the rest of your life before I really was able to hunker down and say, all right, you need to go to college and get a degree and find. And I was coaching then too, so I was driving to Butler, working construction, coming home, changing clothes on the way home, going to the gym, helping coach. Getting home at 5, 6 o'clock, going to bed, getting up at 5 a.m. To go back to Indy. So I learned real quick that this isn't for me. I need to find something a little bit easier.
Like that to push it the other
Right.
direction.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
It really does.
But no, I think it's important for kids to have an understanding of it. But no, you're going to change your mind over and over and over before you probably really decide. Even when you go to college, a lot of times you change your mind.
So you coached with Mitch
Yeah.
and Tony and those guys as a JV coach or as a
Yeah, so I started out helping actually Coach Shelsky, who's the Park Heritage coach now, Rich.
he was there with them, right?
Yep, he was there, and I helped him with freshmen. He sold me my first set of golf clubs. I think he gave them to me.
He always had golf clubs in the back of his car.
Right.
That kind of guy.
But I coached with him for a year as a freshman coach, and then I took over the freshmen for a year, I think.
Okay.
Man, it's been you're pushing.
I know.
You're trying to remember back, and then I did coach JV boys for at least a year, and then that's when Mitch decided to hang it up.
Yeah.
And so we all did. That whole staff did. We kind of we all kind of broke up, and then Mash came in, and then that's when I got married, moved to Canby. And then I got a call from Scott asking if I wanted to help him coach girls basketball, and I kind of laughed.
Yeah.
At the time, it was at the time here, girls basketball was it was rough. I'll be honest. I mean, I think they had, maybe won one or two games multiple years in a row there, and then even when Scott and I took over, we only won one game. We actually had a 0 for. I think we started the season 0 of 19. And won our last game of the year, and it felt like a sectional championship.
Good win.
Yeah, it was a good win.
Any win is a good win at that point.
But I tell Scott that all the time, and for both of us, that was one of the most fun years of coaching I had, and we didn't win a game until the final game of the year. But that group was just fun, and I don't know.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit here. All right, so. And I got to tell a quick little story about me. So I coached boys my whole life, but when I was in Louisiana, I coached the boys basketball team, and then at the end of the boys basketball season, the coach, the AD came to me and said, "We need you to coach girls track." And I thought he was making I thought he was joking.
Right.
I said, "What?" He goes, "We need a girls track coach. We need you to coach girls track." Well, there's two things I didn't know about: girls and track.
Right.
but they made me. I had to do it. Okay.
Right.
So we started out probably with 30, 40 girls on the team. By the end of the season, Zach and Coach, we could go to the track meets in 2 cars. I had ran them all off, every one of them. I coached the girls like I coached the boys.
Boys had it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I wanted they told me what they wanted to do, and I said, well, no, you're going to do what I want to do. You're going to run this. And the coach, I don't want to run that. Well, you're going to run it. Well, if you don't let me run this, I'm gonna. And it was a whole story there where, and this is the kicker on that story, is, believe it or not, they didn't ask me to coach the next year. And a guy came in that knew how to deal with the girls and how to coach the girls. And this is no lie. I'm not lying to you, audience out there. The very next year after I finished the season with about 8 girls, Crowley High School won the state championship in girls track.
The athletes were there. You just didn't know what you were doing.
Two things. I ran them up, and the ones I had left, I didn't know what I was doing. But my question is to you. You coach boys for a while, and now you coach girls. And I did coach girls too here at Northview with Bob Medworth, and we had some good teams.
You did.
In fact, those were probably the last really good girls basketball
really
teams
good.
we had until you came along.
Right.
You know? And talk to us a little bit about the difference between coaching girls and boys, and maybe you can educate me.
Yeah, I think that all kids are different, obviously, even girls. You can coach one girl different than you can coach another girl. But obviously with boys, I think they're used to a little bit more of what we would call hard coaching. You can get on them a little bit more, at least you could back then. I think that's probably still the case now. I'm not in the boys a lot now. But no, I think just how you communicate with girls is just different. And sometimes I fail at it. I'll be honest. I'm not.
Well, but we all do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not.
I have a daughter.
And I think, and some of that maybe why I'm not as good at it because I don't have kids. I've never had kids, and so sometimes I have to lean on my assistant coaches that have daughters, and have those experiences because you don't always say the right thing. You don't always do the right thing. I sent a message to some of my girls the other day. I think people think coaches are supposed to be like these superheroes and make all the right calls and say all the right things and play all the right people and make everybody happy, but we're just not. In reality, we make mistakes. You have to learn from them, and you have to be willing to learn. And I've leaned heavily on some of my assistant coaches just because they have girls and they've raised them.
Yeah, but you've done a great job with it because I've watched you coach, and I know that the locker room is a little bit different when you're dealing with girls, and you don't have girls jumping ship on you, they play hard for you, and that's it, to get anybody to play hard, but sometimes girls are emotional, whatever, but to get them to go out every night and play hard like your teams do, it's very impressive.
Right, and that's part of that is relationship. We talked about that earlier. Whether you're coaching boys or girls, that relationship matters. Back when we played, even with Coach Crooks, you want to talk about a bond. The guys and coach. I mean, we'd go over to Coach's house and spend the night. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. But we'd have some good times hanging out at Coach's house in the basement.
We
heard about this. Here we go. So he's got a guitar up here. They said you played a guitar at Coach's house. In the basement. Right?
At one time, I did.
I made the bad mistake of telling them that they went to the Jamboree, and they won both quarters in the Jamboree. They could come to my house and spend the night in the basement. That was probably a mistake because I heard a lot of noise down there.
For one, we were really good, and we were going to win the Jamboree.
And I didn't realize how good we were at the time. We were really good. But Zack played the guitar a little bit, and then he's been over to the house and played a few poker games. I tried to win a hand of 3-pair one time, and he had to inform me that there was no such thing as 3-pair.
We had some good times, man. Some of those guys, man. It's funny because a couple weeks ago we played Clay City, and Clay Huffman is coaching the girls at Clay City, and Clay was on that team. He was a senior when I was a sophomore when Coach was coaching still, and we were talking about that just a couple weeks ago. Just man, did you ever think that you and I would be coaching at Northview and Clay City girls basketball when we were playing ball back in 2002? And we just laughed. And it's amazing where life takes you sometimes. You really don't know where you're going to end up. But no, man, we had some great memories back with Coach. Even as a freshman, getting to play against Kennedy and Lawrence, and getting to experience that as a young freshman. And then our sophomore year, man, we were fun. That group was so much fun with Hefner and King and Huffman and man, just Lawrence, and just a loaded basketball team. That was a lot of fun to play with.
That was one of the few times that I just had to sit back and watch. Coach, you've been there before.
Oh, yeah.
You get a team that is just you don't have to yell at, because the only time you're yelling at them is when they're taking bad shots. But when the bad shots go in, they become good shots. All of a sudden.
So, Coach, this is my greatest memory of my sophomore year. Is we're playing in the sectional. Oh wait, this was my freshman year. So we're playing in the sectional. I think it was at Terre Haute North. Either way, Logan is just on fire, right? He missed his first three, and then he's hit like 6 or 7 in a row at this point.
Yeah, right.
Well, they call timeout, and the coach's advice in the timeout is just get the bleep ball to Logan. And everybody's like, all right. And so, but no, Logan got hot, hit 10? I think he did hit 10 in a row in that sectional game, and just
that
a
was against
fun night.
Martinsville,
Yeah.
And we ended up losing that game against Martinsville, but I always said, and I actually went to the state and asked him, the coach, if 10 threes in a row by a freshman in a varsity game was a record. And they
didn't know.
They didn't know.
No.
They were like, we don't keep track of that. But I still say to this day, there's very few freshmen out there that can hit 10 threes.
Yeah.
He finished with 30 points.
Yeah, and so the next day in the paper, the headline was, "Future is bright, Northview freshmen score 34." I had 4, and Logan had 30.
And that's the way your life's always going to be.
Right.
That's just how it works. Hey, we're going to take another break here. We'll come right back and talk some more basketball and maybe some other things as well. You're watching Indiana Sports Network.
At Great Dane, we don't just build trailers, we build careers. For nearly 50 years, our dedicated teams in the Wabash Valley have been crafting some of the best trailers on the road. With cutting-edge technology and a family-focused environment, we empower our employees to grow, learn, and thrive in the manufacturing industry, all while focusing on delivering the very best for our customers. Come join our legacy of excellence and start building your future. Learn more at greatdane.com/careers. Great Dane. Be great.
Hey, and welcome back to. And when I ask you this next question, don't think I'm just poking fun, but
I'm nervous about this next question because I don't know what it is.
John, when you and I coach at different times, you give those little. Hey, if this happens, we're going to do this. You ever had your head shaved?
No,
Oh.
I have not.
And I was going to ask you, but that's a moot point. But
Nice.
yeah, I mean, we do those kinds of things. Hey, if you win this, you get to spend the night with Coach. If you win this, you get to, we're going to shave your head in front of everybody. And I've had my head shaved a couple times. A couple times. We win this. You beat this team, Coach. We're shaving your head. And I mean, those guys do not forget that kind of thing.
Oh, no.
They come right in, and
That's
I mean, it gets buzzed off, and everybody's having a great time.
right.
And then you have to figure out if you're going to wear a hat the next day or not. Because that kind of stuff, and those are good things. Those are the things everybody remembers about playing athletics in high school. It's not necessarily wins and losses. For coaches, it's always wins and losses. We can tell you what happened.
Sure.
And you can do the same thing. Well, they turned it over here, or they hit this shot in the corner, or with me, they threw the touchdown pass, whatever it happens to be. Those things happen. And those are coaches' things, but the relationships, like we've talked about all night, have been the things that you most remember about playing. And speaking of those relationships, this year's team for you, and we'll set some of those up here so you can see it. We have a picture of this year's team.
There they are.
Here we go.
And
This is good.
Right
It's a
there,
good looking
man.
group.
that's all right. And man, what you're going to have those.
Man. Yeah, special group, and that's a picture that obviously will be hung in my office and be there for the longest time now. I'll have that with me, and that's why you want those moments for those moments right there are why you coach, so those kids can experience the joy of winning a sectional or the joy of winning a tournament. When you experience them as players, those moments as players. When you start to coach, you so deeply want those kids to experience what you did.
You said it best. I heard you say it, I don't know where, that sectional wins are so special.
They are.
Because it's so hard to win them. You know?
It is, man. You know, it's
I know. I mean, we had a shot my first year at Northview. My very first year at Northview, we had a shot at the buzzer to win it, and missed it and lost by 1. And at that point in time, I thought to myself, I'm gonna have another chance. I'm gonna get another one. And over the years, we had chances. But I coached at Northview, the boys, for 12 years, 13 years, and we never won one.
Right.
Well, speaking of the chance to hit the 3, why don't you take a look at this one as this one comes in?
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Do you know this is coming?
This looks like Mooresville.
They're gonna love this.
Tell us about the shot.
Yeah. So
This is me on the sideline coaching them up right there. See?
Yeah.
And somebody's pulling.
We'll let it go through, and then we'll talk about what the draw up was on this. Oh, I didn't realize it was that far in the corner. Look at them hops, dude. No, so coach calls timeout. We're down to. I remember this like it was yesterday. He draws up this great double screen set play. He talks about Austin taking a shot if they don't help. He talks about making sure we set a good screen for Clay, and then King can pop if he's open. We obviously want Logan to touch it if at all possible. I never got mentioned in the timeout. All 4 other boys got mentioned. My name was never brought up, probably because I hadn't shot a 3 all year.
Not shot one.
Oh, man.
No, hadn't shot one.
So not even a 3. You're like
hadn't
Shaq
shot
out there shooting it from nowhere.
So, I mean, obviously they probably left me open for a reason, but I was fortunate to hit it that night.
Now, let me tell you the truth.
That is the truth.
The truth in the timeout. The play was set up for him the whole time.
Yeah.
That's just good coaching. That's what I'm
Good
thinking.
coaching.
That's it.
I said, we're going to do this, and this, and then Zach's going to hit the shot at the final. We ran that play for 4 different people.
Right.
And he set the final back screen.
Right.
And then everybody shifted to that side because we had 5 good shooters on the team.
4.
And they shifted over, and he pops out and he drills it.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. I mean, we fought hard in that game, and we all went nuts. And I remember I was doing this. I was waving like this because Mooresville's coach was calling timeout.
Right.
He was trying to call time, but he didn't have one. Okay? And I knew he didn't have one. So I was doing this. He's got no timeout. He's got no timeout. And everybody thought I was saying the shot was no good. I was going, shot's good. Shot's good. He's got no timeout. And instead of shooting the technical fouls and all that, he just walked over, shook our hands, and said, "It's over. You guys won it."
You know, some of those best things happen in coaching when it's not what you drew up. And
Absolutely.
And about 90% of what I drew up didn't work.
Right.
Yeah, so,
No, I mean, heck, you spend all week. I mean, my girls know this. We'll spend all week on something, and just after watching film, and then get to the game, and they'll run a completely different defense the whole night that you hadn't seen or you hadn't prepared for. That's coaching.
It is
It's part of it.
It is coaching.
And your kids are like, why did we just work on? Why did we work on all that stuff all week if they're, But that's just part of it. You got to adjust.
While we're on this subject, though, I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit, but you don't have to answer completely.
All right.
I'm just going to get your opinion on this,
Okay.
okay? If I could take you and Logan
Yeah.
and split you down the middle,
Uh-huh.
okay, and put you and Logan on the 2001-2002 team, and you and Logan on the 2003-2004 team, who we had identical records. I think Mitch took over and went 21-3, and we went 21-3, and we both lost in the second round of the sectional.
Yep.
If you could put you on both teams, Logan on both teams, match us up.
Man.
What's the spread and the over/under on that one?
I got some of my boys listening to this. I don't know. Close. I know that. It would be close.
I don't expect
I don't
you to
know.
say.
I would say, I'll be honest. I thought that Clay Huffman, it was about as good a shooter outside of Logan as you could have on a basketball team. That kid would pull up from 4 or 5 feet behind the line. Austin was such a good just distributor of the basketball, much like Josh Tim was.
Yeah, I know.
I think Josh Tim was kind of the the kid that we didn't know about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He was.
Because
awesome.
Right, he really turned into a nice player
No
his
doubt.
junior and senior year.
Yeah.
And then Akers shot up and grew and became this lockdown defender, and Greenwood was stout inside.
Yeah.
But no, Eric King was a stud. You know, we were a bigger team. With that would have probably been the problem for the 03-04 team, would have been
King
just the
was 6'5".
size of the
Lane was
02-01 team, 01-02.
6'4", yeah.
I've actually told people, you know, in the talking about those years, that was probably the best team I played on, was that 01-02 year, just because, man, we were deep. I mean, Dustin didn't really even get a ton of minutes. He's talking about a 6'6" kid that was athletic, and
That's right.
P. Lane, man, who broke the backboard before a game once.
All the time too, and I wouldn't let him.
Right. You remember when he broke the backboard,
Oh,
Duncan?
I almost got fired over that. We broke 4 backboards in 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh,
But no, it's impossible to say.
impossible
Just
to
like
say.
people ask me now, like, would your group beat the team that's there now, man? I don't know. You don't know. Like,
don't
the
know.
athleticism nowadays, it feels like it's on another level than it was 20 years ago.
Those years back to back to back, you know, more, you know, I
Right.
hate to say this because there was some politics that went into it, and some
Right.
other stuff that went into it. But one of my biggest regrets in life is giving that team
Right.
up. I shouldn't have given that team up.
Right.
I had some things promised to me that didn't develop. You called me that night. Logan
Right.
called me that night,
Right.
begging me not to give it up. But
Yeah, that was like the craziest transaction, if you want to call it, because that was a wild time, and then I guess we can talk about this.
Yeah, we can talk about anything.
But no, coach, we want to coach, obviously.
Right.
I mean, that's all we knew. You know, we have developed, such a good relationship, and Coach did such a good job of building relationship with his kids. I'll say that about my Northview, my 4 years at Northview, man, I couldn't have asked for better, like, leaders, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like with him, and even Ernie, Mash was great. Phil Linner was great. You want to talk about great guys? We were just so blessed. But then Coach gives it up, and we're all like, man, we want Mash. Because we did, because that's who we knew.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's literally who we knew, so we were pushing hard. We want Ernie, because that's what we knew. He was the assistant coach, and then he had, Coach let him have a lot of hands-on that
absolutely.
year. He really, he was in timeouts. One of the first, how I learned to coach was watching him and Mash coach. Because he would, Mash would take over at timeout, and I would always be like, man, where's John? Where's Coach Crooks?
Yeah.
But now I do that too. I'll let my assistant coach have it and go.
absolutely.
If you got something you want to say, go for it. But no, we were pushing hard for Mash, and it didn't happen. And honestly, when we found out it was Coach Lancaster, we were upset. Some of the guys were upset because we're like, we don't know this guy.
Yeah.
And now, shoot, Coach
back.
Lancaster's like my dad now.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
See, I was on the other end of Mitch's situation. So when Mitch left, I was like, wow, that's really tough, because I was at Rockville at that time, and watching that kind of thing go on, and you just. When change happens, it makes kids adjust.
Yeah, when you're
to what's
17,
going
18
on.
years old, man, and you're just like, oh man, we don't know this guy coming from Rockville.
Yeah.
Right.
That was funny. I was from Rockville coaching here. Mitch was from here coaching at Rockville. Right. We did the swap-a-roo.
Right.
Yep.
And that went late into the night before they made that decision on who was going to coach here. You
Right.
know, it was a lot of politics were involved.
It was.
But
Sure.
Mitch did.
Man.
Ernie would have done a great
He
job.
would've, yep.
And Mitch did a great job.
Yep.
And brought a good staff in, and those. But I needed that. But I agree. Huffman was one of those kids, and on the film that we got that last play off of, it's called Our Shining Moment, and
Yeah.
my wife put it together for that last year, and it's a really neat.
I still
little
have that.
video.
Yeah, still have that.
So, but on that video, Clay, and any other time in my history, I probably would have ran out on the floor and tackled him.
Right.
But Clay, on a breakaway in the final game of the Wabash Valley against Turkey Run, unbelievably,
Yeah.
he runs down, nobody in front of him,
Right. Pulls up.
for three.
And he's not pulling up at the line. He's not pulling up at the line. He's 4 feet behind the line.
He's 4 feet behind the
Right.
line, pulling up for a
Yeah.
three with nobody in front of him. He could have shot the layup. Any other time, I would have had a heart attack, and it hits nothing but the bottom.
Right.
Right. Sit there and cross my legs.
That's the
winning by 30,
Yeah, I mean, that's
30
the
or
thing
35.
about that group. There was so much talent, man, that you could, like, as a coach, like, man, what a blessing it would have been to be able to just sit there and know that you had that many guys that could
What do
put
you
the ball in the
think?
hole.
How far do you think that team, and I don't want to just stick on that team, if we would have dropped to AAA?
Yeah, no,
what
we
do you
talk
think?
about that all the time. The guys talk about it.
I think maybe we were looking at a state championship.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you go back and just look at scores, no, yeah, if we're a 3A school back then, who knows with those groups? Because there's just so much talent, man. So many guys that could play. And you talk about basketball back in those days and basketball now is still at a high level, don't get me wrong, but the boys teams back in those days,
doubt.
man, were on another level.
They were.
They just
All
were,
around.
all of them, south, north. Everywhere you looked, there was talent. So no, there was just a lot of talent back then, and obviously, if we would have been in 3A, who knows, really? I mean,
Right.
could have easily went to state.
Well, Bobby and I used to say if some
Coulda,
bucks
shoulda,
were
woulda.
candy in the house, we don't have
Merry Christmas. It's kind of the way it works.
Yeah.
And let's pause for another break here. Again, thanks to Zack for talking to us tonight, and we'll be right back.
Your All-Pro running back Jonathan Taylor here for York Automotive. Looking for an All-Pro deal on your next car, truck, or SUV? York is my #1 pick. With over 600 vehicles in stock, York has the largest selection to meet your needs. We're talking new, pre-owned, and commercial vehicles. Take it from one All-Pro to another, York has your best deal.
Shop online at yorkautomotive.com and we'll show you why we're not #1, you are.
We're not #1.
You are!
You're #1 at York.
And welcome back. Hey, Zack, when we're talking about these, all the things that have happened this year, we didn't talk about next year or the things that are going to happen
That's
in
a
the
good
future.
question. Yep.
And so if you look down the road, what do things look like for you, for your kids, kind of the things that are going on, and maybe it's your life, those kinds of things. But give me something for the future that's going to happen here at Northview.
We have a very bright future, and some of that is, like I talked about earlier, we have a staff that works tremendously hard. But no, we have some really good players in the middle school. Even coming back next year, majority of our top 6 or 7 kids are coming back. So we're excited about next year, hoping to repeat similar to what we did this year, and then even going forward, we have some excellent middle school players that we are excited about. Some even our fifth grade group is really, really talented, but just getting your hands in, into those younger grades, man, and making sure that they're developing and making sure you have people leading them as well. Helps build a program. I think we've gotten to the point now where we've officially built a program. I don't say that arrogantly. I say that because we've put in a lot of work. Our staff's put in a lot of work. I've put in a lot of work. I really have. My wife will tell you that, like I said earlier. But it takes that. It takes putting in a lot of work. It takes having community support, having an athletic director that is willing to help. All of those things, we've started our own tournament in the holiday. I had Mooresville reaching out to me to see if they could play in our tournament.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's big time.
That's not that doesn't happen.
That doesn't
it wouldn't
happen,
happen
bro.
7 or 8 years ago.
Right.
So it just speaks volumes to really our staff and our community that have really helped us out tremendously to build a program that has a very, very bright future.
And it's not only on the girls' side,
Yeah.
Coach. The boys' side
Same
is
thing.
loaded too. I mean, they're actually.
No, wait a second. He's going to say something about 8th grade.
I know. Well, we got a sign over there.
When you're an undefeated coach like I am in 8th grade, you gotta put it in a
Listen,
good word
those
for
boys are
yourself.
talented. Middle school boys are talented.
And what's going to happen is they're going to run into a bottleneck, and I don't feel sorry for Coach Neville because it's a really good problem to have. But he loses 1 or 2 players off of this squad, and then he's got a JV squad that's full of freshmen, and then he's got a freshman squad, and then he's got this 8th grade team that I was fortunate to just stand there and watch them play. That went undefeated. They went 53-0 over 3 years at the middle school. They're moving in.
Yep.
They're going to have to play freshmen because there's no really much room for many
you're
of them
right.
to move
No.
up. So it's a little bottleneck. But my point here is, seriously, Northview sports in general has really developed, and I know Coach Buell's AD does a great job, and I think the whole environment of the school and the following that all the teams have. You know, my great assistant coach James Grounds is the track and cross country. They do great every year. You know, they got great people, and I know the volleyball was extremely good this year. So all the sports at Northview are really, you know, blossoming over the years, and I think the future is, you know, I think you say they're going to have to wear shades.
Right. You know, Scott and I were just talking about, Coach Buell and I were just talking about this a couple weeks ago, just and why is it so successful? Well, a lot of it has to do with you've had coaches in the same position for a long time. And that makes a difference. You know, Rates has been here for, you know, a while now.
Football, I ain't saying
years.
football
team's phenomenal. Craig Trout took a team to won a state championship. And he's been here for a long time.
Poster up over there.
You know, I've been here just in my year 10, year 13 of being in the girls basketball program. He mentioned Coach Grounds. You know, you want to talk about a guy that's diehard and puts forth as much effort as anybody for cross country and track. We just have, you know, I'm sure I'm missing some. You know, Coach Mack with volleyball, you know, he gave it up for a few years, but he's been at it for 10, 15 years. Won 300 plus games. You just have an environment of coaches, for one, most of all, that graduated there from the school and are passionate about the school, which I think is very, very important. Now, Sean didn't graduate from there, but still, look what he's doing. I mean, he's doing a phenomenal job, and he's got Josh Trout on his staff, who, you know, played at Northview. And
Dennis Race did, but he's, you know, he's.
But just guys that are passionate about the school and coaches that, you know, put Northview first all the time. Don Bryan, a soccer coach that puts Northview first all the time. And, you know, our athletics have really exploded, especially since Scott Buell has been the athletic director. If you track it back, I mean, he's just done a really, really good job of putting people in place and then making sure that we all have what we need to be successful, new facilities, you know, whatever it might be, just as small as new basketballs. We always have what we need, and to have you know, sports and athletics be successful, you have to have leadership behind your coaches, and we have that at Northview. So we do have a very bright future because of that.
Yeah. Folks, we're really pleased to join us here on Timeout with Coach. And again, our first podcast of this one, having Zack Keys here.
And first, maybe our last.
And Coach John Crooks. Again, really happy that you joined us. Got to talk a lot of sports. This one's about Northview. You'll have to check out and see what our next ones are going to be about for our producer and director, Tony Harper. I'm Herb King. We'll say so long for this evening from Coach's Timeout.
Thank you all.
Vienna Sports Network cups given to guests on Timeout with the Coach are provided by Fearless Designs.